What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Today we are chatting with a friend of ours, Elena Cardone. Elena is a best-selling author. She is a founder, a speaker, international speaker, and founder of the 10X Ladies movement. And she is the other half of the Cardone empire, of the 10X empire. Today on the show, we talk with Elena about a lot of different things, namely parenting, how they raised their daughters up to this point. We talk about her business sense and expertise, but we also talk a little bit about their religious activity, and so we want to talk about that before we get into today's episode, because we want to make a couple of things clear for those of you that are new to the show.
Yeah. Obviously, we want everybody to be able to talk openly, and I think that's something all three of us hate, is when people get censored for saying something that maybe doesn't fit with what the host would agree with.
Yeah.
And, but I think it's important. Like, it's a big part of who they are. They talk about Scientology openly quite a bit. But I think also we have an audience of people trying to figure things out. And so there's a lot of people that are looking for answers, looking for things like that. And the last thing that I wanted, especially given the nature of some of the podcasting that I do, I want to be careful to make clear that I'm not pushing people toward, any religious group, but specifically, Scientology has a lot of information about things tied to it that aren't great. And
probably not the best.
Yeah. And so, like I said, I totally respect them, respect where they're coming from, but I do want to make clear, like, they are in a situation where they're getting to see the best of Scientology. Be wealthy in Scientology, you're going to have a good experience.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that we wanted to bring her on and talk about it to the extent that, because I also don't think it's fair for people just to like make snap judgments about other people just because of a label that's put on them. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about it, but yeah, we wanted to kind of talk about this at the beginning just to make sure that people knew that, and this goes for any guest we bring on the show. Like, the show is called Figuring It Out because we want to bring on a slew of different people with different opinions and different belief systems. But for any guest we bring on, including Elena, this is not a representation of our beliefs. It is just simply a deep dive into figuring out what people believe and
context for why they believe what they believe. Yeah.
Anything from you?
No, I thought it was great. I liked hearing her perspective a lot. I'm excited for people to hear it. She does have, obviously, I like that she focuses more on the women's side of it. I think that a lot of people will enjoy that side of it.
So. Too.
Yeah, well, that's actually, that's fair. Probably the best part of it was trying to find I feel like that's what I'm trying to do, is trying to find the balance of having a career and also being a wife and also being a mom, which I feel like a lot of people see that as you can't do all three. So I'm really excited for people to hear her perspective.
It's either like you
are a good mom, but you don't have a career, or you have a great career, but you're a pretty crappy mom. Like, you can't have it all. Yeah. And I feel like she has a good representation. And you can tell too, like the way her kids interact, we've talked about that, the way their kids interact with both of them, Grant and Elena, we've both said, like, it seems very genuine. We've had some people in our lives that have been in the same positions. We've been like, that just doesn't.
Pastors' kids.
Yeah, where it's like, you can tell though, you don't really have that great of a family life. They seem to have a good family life.
Yeah, Grant and Elena are not my personality type at all. Like, they're very different. Like, I'd say they're probably closer to your personality type. Both of you, actually, I think very similar. But like, that's one thing that I love, is their approach to parenting. When I hear Grant talk about it, or Elena, like, for Piper, she's getting ready to go to school. Like, a lot of stuff, like not putting her into a school system to learn things that we don't want them to learn. Like, really, and whenever I say that, it sounds like I'm talking about like religious beliefs, because I think that's what everyone jumps to. But specifically, like, business, like lies about, you need to go to college, you need to go in the system, you gotta get in the workforce. Like, I love the idea of taking them to conferences with you. Like, I'm excited about taking Piper with me when I go do work, and seeing the entrepreneurial lifestyle. Like, that's really exciting.
A lot of things that worry me too about the school stuff is not even the stuff that they do teach, but rather the things that they don't teach. And it's like, man, there's just so many things. I was talking to a buddy of mine that's in kind of the financial industry, and we're talking about a couple of different financial vehicles that people can use to like avoid having to pay more money on taxes, and being able to borrow money against your own assets, and like so many things that were just like, how are we forced to learn some of this other bullshit in school that we will never, ever, 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 ever once again use the rest of our life, but we're not learning that. Because that's the thing. Like, I'm not one of the people that says like, oh, I'm not going to use this, so I shouldn't learn it. I think learning is good. Like, you should be expanding your knowledge base, and you should be trying to learn things that maybe you're never going to use again.
Especially at an age where you don't know what you're interested in.
Exactly.
It's good to learn a sampler of everything.
And a base knowledge to be able to operate in life, have conversations with people. Like, it's good to have that stuff. I'm not even one of those people that's like, you shouldn't even have to learn geography or whatever. You know, it's like, no, you should probably know this kind of stuff. But in addition to that, you should probably be taught stuff about like, how does life insurance work? Like how do I, balance a checkbook? How do I keep track of my finances? How do I know if a credit card is good or a credit card is bad?
How do I build a sales funnel? all that good stuff.
Well, like it's just so many things that school leaves out. But that was one of the things we talked about with Elena that I thought was super interesting. And I, kind of selfishly was just asking her questions about that. But
and that was a point too that I thought was cool too. It just even made me think about that. I think that I would love a lot of our listeners to think about that. Sometimes I feel like we just see school as just like, obviously you have to send your kids to school, and a lot of people don't have like the luxury of sending them to a different school. But even then, just like understanding the fact that like you're sending your child somewhere that they're spending more time with your kid at that point than you are. So being aware of that and having those conversations with your kids, whatever school you're going to, making sure you are aware of what's happening and you're not just like crediting the school for like they're taking care of it. And even like the church stuff that you go through, same thing with school. Like, make sure your kids are safe, make sure you're having those conversations, make sure you know what they're learning, like helping them with school too, like making sure you're seeing what they're being taught. Don't just be that parent that's like, sending them off and being like, good luck, hopefully like you're learning what you're supposed to. Yeah, it's not like, this is like, I've talked about that very openly about, I struggle with my education to this day because of the education that I was given by being in a private school to protect myself from some things, but had no priority on my actual education.
You got the double whammy. You get to be socially awkward and uneducated.
Right.
Pretty much.
You're like, oh, I'm super sheltered and I can't spell.
30 kids, K to 12, and no education.
But I didn't learn about sex till I was 19, so that's a win.
So we won. So I like that. I thought that she at least like helped me think about that. Like, obviously when we start sending our kids to school, it's something we've talked about a lot. Like, it'll be not looking forward to that conversation, but it'll definitely be a priority.
So anyway, without further ado, please enjoy this episode with Miss Elena Cardone. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Figuring It Out podcast. Today, I'm super, super stoked to be bringing on a friend of mine. We connected a few years back, and man, ever since then, you guys have absolutely just blown up off the face of the planet. And so when we started this new show, I knew that I had to jump back on with you. So everybody, please welcome Elena Cardone. Elena, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I love it. Figuring it out. It's going to be awesome. Let's figure it out.
Yes. I mean, that's what we're going to try to do. We're in 30 minutes. We're going to figure out life.
We're solving world's problems today, right here, right now.
All right, here we go. Let's jump in. So we're just a quick recap for the, 3 people that are listening that may not know you guys. Can you just give me a quick 20, 30 second catch up on what you guys have been up to really in the last year and a half, because a lot of things have changed for you.
Quick recap since COVID, when COVID exposed some vulnerabilities in our organization to having to release people at the worst time ever, receiving massive amount of criticism and hate, to knowing that we were going to get through it. We were going to refortify, come together as a unit, not only as husband and wife, but as an organization. We're going to make it stronger so that we could come back bigger, better, badder. I was determined at that point to make it everything that we had been doing look like child's play as kind of the answer to the hatred and whatnot. And so since that point, we've come back, we've grown, we've expanded. We hit $1 billion, not that anybody would care about that, except for it's a major accomplishment for those who understand what that takes and what that means and what you had to sacrifice and all the right decisions that you had to make and everything that goes into that. Also, proving that if the little people from Lake Charles and New Orleans, Louisiana can do it, anybody can do it. And so that was a major milestone. We also went to 12,000 apartment units, and we were just collaborating with other powerful entities to build and reach a heightened level of success, not just in business, but in all dynamics, in relationships and mindset. And so that's what we've been up to. And there's so much more in the works. It's really, really an exciting time over here. Not that it's easy, but it's exciting times nonetheless.
So just a couple of things then. Yeah. I don't know if you remember this, Elena. The first time I had you on my show, this was 2017 now, which is crazy. But we talked about that. We talked about how you were kind of pushing Grant to go for that $1 billion mark, and how at the time it was just a crazy, crazy goal to throw out into the universe. And that he was actually a little bit upset when you first brought it up because of how much work he knew had to go into making that happen. And now here you are a few years later with a couple $1 billion in assets under management with Cardone Capital. And then
4.8.
Who's counting?
4.8. 4.8.
4.8 assets under management. Yeah, the
that's the new number.
12,000 units now.
There we go. Okay, so just in that short period of time, you guys have exponentially grown. And that's not to discount any of the work that you did beforehand, because you were obviously busting it for decades prior to the last 5 years. But it seems like the last 5 years have been just like a hockey stick level of growth for you. And I'm wondering, because this is figuring it out, and we like to talk more than just about business here, I'm wondering what that stress did to your guys' relationship, and what type of practices maybe that you put in place to, work through this kind of stuff together as you grew in this tremendous period.
2020 was our hardest year. It was extremely stressful. He was doing Undercover Billionaire. There was just everything coming at us, the unpredictability, the assets, the people, it was just a lot of there was a lot of friction on our marriage. There was, I was at a place where I'm doing something new, which is different, and I had to have a discussion in a new unit of time with him, because we had to reorganize our relationship as we kind of knew it. Meaning, I usually do all the behind the scenes and I'm always there. And now I wanted to go out and help. I'm doing my own thing, which is I'm now a licensed realtor with EXP. So it's interesting that you say exponential, because it stands for exponential. But I saw 2020, I saw all these people losing their jobs, and I wanted to get into a model where I could actually help people grow their businesses like I did with Grant, like by offering mindset, infrastructure, and support. And I found EXP, this model, which actually Grant brought to the table. And I said, look, Grant, this is my opportunity now to not only be the woman behind the man, beside the man, which I'm very proud of, but my superheroism and my superpower is that, and now I want to bring that. Now I've mastered that role. I want to bring this to other people and see how far I can go as a legacy play to help other people, and so can I have your support in this? Because if you don't have the conversation, then you could look at it two ways. You could look at it, well, I'm not getting support. Or you could look at it from his point of view, which is, okay, now she's leaving our stuff to go off and do her thing, and she's excluding me. You know what I'm saying? There's two different viewpoints. So we had to come back together. I had to get on the same page and say, look, I want to restore the family dynamic to society. I want to bring financial literacy just like you do. I'm going to continue to support you. There's going to be some bumps along the road as I'm doing the juggling act with you, but I have that pretty well grooved in, but I might drop a ball because now I'm adding this new thing that I've never done that does require more attention. So, can you support me? Can you show active interest in the success of me by helping all these other people? Does that align with you and us? Yes. Okay, great. So now getting his buy-in and his agreement that I'm not just wandering off to do my own thing because I need to be Miss Independent and make my own money, or, you know what I mean? Like whatever cobwebs or misunderstandings that he may have had, I'm not saying he did, but may have gone off for him, need to be hashed out and talked about. So how we do it is, we don't take for granted that we are the way that we were a year ago, a month ago, 5 months ago. If something new comes into the scene, we each have to include each other and get buy-in in the mission in order to help each other reach a heightened level of success. Otherwise, it's, you know, it's going to cause problems of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, there's tension.
Oh, I was there for you, you're not there for me. But really, it was just a misunderstanding. If you, as the husband or wife, are not taking responsibility by getting the buy-in, it's my responsibility to get his buy-in and understanding.
Yeah, I know Jackie was listening to a couple of interviews that you did before we jumped on here. And I know she had a question for you kind of regarding how you balance those things, because we have 2 small kids. I don't even know if you remember this, but Jackie, we flew out to Miami a few years ago because Jackie was interviewing to be Grant's executive assistant. And it was a kind of roller coaster of emotions that happened because so we got back from Miami. I left to go to Dallas with my dad to look at a couple properties out there. And then while I was in Dallas, Jackie FaceTimes me one night and she has this like kind of weird look on her face. And I was like, what's going on? What's happening? Turns out we found out we were pregnant when I was gone. So find out we're pregnant. We're talking about it. We were just in shock and disarray, just like, how do we, you know, what are we going to do? You know, how do we move forward here? And then like the next day is when she got the offer letter from Sherry to come out to be Grant's executive assistant. So then it was like, yeah, we're going to do this. And then it was like, we're expecting now, like we can't put on this big workload on Jackie when she's expecting. So we basically ended up, you know, long story short, I had to turn the job down, which was a bummer for us at the time because we were looking forward to coming out and working with you guys. Obviously, obviously we have our son, he's almost 3. We have a daughter now, she's 1.5. And she also works a full-time job and also manages me and my crazy thoughts and my life and is supporting me and all of that. So I know that she wanted to ask you a question on kind of how to balance some of those things.
Yeah, I mean, that's just basically that. I feel like that is the constant struggle as a mom, is trying to find that balance of, obviously the kids still take my priority and everything, but it's very important for me to have a career that I'm proud of. So obviously you've done an incredible job at balancing those two. And I would just want to, some input on that, on how you've chosen to do that. Do you have certain checks and balances for yourself that you give yourself with your kids at a certain amount of time? Just how do you navigate all of that?
I don't balance, I juggle. You know, you got to know what you are. I'm a juggler. So there's a couple things that I do. Number one is I've also included the children into what it is that I do, what Papa does, who we are as a family. We want to help people. We want to make a difference for the better. You know, this is what we do. Sometimes we work late hours. We're not here for certain things. Sometimes, but when you allow us to be gone, do you realize that you're actually contributing to the people that we help? Because when you're not pulling me, I can be there and we're helping change the world, and we get to be superheroes. Do you want to be a superhero? Yes. Okay, well, this is how you can contribute. Rather than the perception of we're leaving you or you're not there, you understand that if you're staying home and guarding the fort and taking care of that, you're contributing, you're helping people by doing that for us. So they understand that they're actually contributing in their role, even if their role is being left behind. Yeah. So it's multiple conversations like that. So they're bought in. Then it's also where I prioritize, if I'm, the jugglers that you see at the circus that have the chainsaw, the ping pong, the tennis ball, like I'm doing all of those, right? Yeah. And so when I throw them up, I just focus on the one that's about to land in my hand. So the one that's about to land in my hand is the one that gets the priority. And then, and sometimes I throw up, like, let's say the kids, right? But the business lands in my hand right here because that's the one that's most important at that time. Yeah. Not in life. Of course, my children are more important in life, but you have to distinguish when is your child bored and just wants attention, and at that part, you have to skillfully, be willing to pass them off to the nanny and not feel guilty about that because you've hired somebody that you trust in that role who's going to do an amazing job to take care and to distract them. Now, when you know you owe family time, I always know when I owe family time. I can feel it. I can see it. The kids start fighting, things start getting a little out of control. Then my business has to take a back seat because I'm catching the family hat or the ball, whatever you want to call that. I have to focus on that to get it good, viable. Okay, it's good again. Let me throw it up, and now I got to catch the business. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or now I got to handle Grant, and I got to put all this aside. But it only depends on what is most eminent at the moment. It's like putting out the fire, what needs to be handled. And lastly, I don't compare myself to other people. That's when I get into trouble. Like when I get this idea that it all has to be balanced, I get the idea. I don't know what you get, but I'm a visual person. When I have the idea that I'm supposed to be balanced, I think everything's supposed to be smooth. I'm supposed to be happy. I'm supposed to be running this perfect show. And then I look at my life, which is chainsaws, tennis balls, ping pongs, basketballs, and it's going like this. And I go, oh my God, something's terribly wrong with me because I don't have humana balance. Yeah. And I just accept that I'm not humana balance. Go get that from whoever does that. I don't do that. I do what I do really well. I'm not going to compare my picture to you. I just know that I'm like when Cirque du Soleil calls and they need the juggler, that's me. I'm the best at that, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any certain then like actual like measurable things that you try and hit every month? Like, do you have a certain amount, like do you guys go on weekly date nights? Obviously your lives are crazy, but do you try and do any of that or one-on-one time with each of your daughters or anything like that you implement?
Yes, the kids, they schedule, they call my assistant now. And they schedule mom and daughter time. They get it on the schedule, which is really cute. But like we do family night and we watch movies together. And, you'd think that as busy of a life as Grant and I have, that the kids suffer and take a toll, but they really don't. I have enough help around us so that when I'm home, I can be with the kids because somebody else is doing the dishes or somebody else is cooking the food. So then we have a little trampoline. So I can be on the trampoline bouncing with the kids and I get 30, 45 minutes of quality time with them. That's good. Like I don't need to spend hours with the children. They don't at a time, you know, to somehow be glorified as mom of the year. I need to put in the fun, the great time, the quality time, and then I get to go do something else. And then I can pop in and pop out. So we're always together. They're homeschooled. So even when I'm working from my office at home, like I might not be able to focus on them, but when I'm taking a break, getting lunch, they're there. So it always feels like they're around, like they're part of the group. When we travel on the road, they're always with us. So I don't think they feel like they're suffering. At nighttime, I try to put in more nighttime, and it's a sacrifice because I have all these business things that I got to catch up on, but I just make the decision right now. I know I need to put in family time. I'm a mother. And if I'm going to go say and lead the charge for women and say, I want to restore the family dynamic, I got to hold myself accountable and show up and be a good representation of a mother. Yeah. At the same side, I don't have to feel guilty when my children think, they think I should cook for them and that represents a good mother to them. Then I have the conversation. I'm like, if y'all want to judge me and say I ruined your life because I'm not going to cook for you, that's your decision. You're going to get all these other things that I can do and be amazing, but I'm not going to cook for you every night. But if you want, we can pick one night a week where y'all get a recipe, order the stuff, and we cook together. I'll give you that. You know what I mean? So it's about finding the thing that works.
Yeah. I love this framework as well, just because it seems like there's a lot of parents and entrepreneurial parents out there who use their lack of success and drive in their business, and they use their kids almost as a crutch or as an excuse as to why their business isn't doing really well, or why they're not reaching as many people or impacting as many lives, or why they're not reaching their mission or their calling. And it's they kind of put it off on like, well, I'm a parent and I have kids. And so I have all these other responsibilities. And so I can't do that. And I can't do this. And this framework kind of pulls you out of that and gets you back into what I think is a higher calling in parenting, which is setting an example that your kids can follow. And it's really interesting to me how we as parents can sometimes look at our kids and be like, you can do anything that you put your mind to, you can do anything you can, we want our kids to live their dream life. And yet we limit ourselves because of our kids and prevent ourselves from living our dream life or reaching our goals or accomplishing what we set out to accomplish. And it's all under the guise or the excuse of, well, I'm a parent, so I just can't.
It is an excuse. And Grant and I heard earlier on when our children were really young, we heard somebody making an excuse like that they have kids and they blamed it on the kids. And Grant and I said, we're going to put in a policy that we are never blaming our kids for something that we don't want to take responsibility for. Yeah. Like, how unfair is that? Like, the kid can't even defend himself, and you're blaming a problem on a child, especially if he catches wind that you blamed the problem. Like, how would you feel as a child if you overheard your parents say, I can't because my kid? Like, how worthless would you feel, or guilty, or like, oh, I'm a burden? Like, why would you want to do that to a child? Yeah. So it's just a matter of perception. It's like, no, if I'm not going to do something, own up to it. But I'm not going to blame my child for my shortcomings. Like, be real and honest. Like, you at least owe that to your family. I agree with you 1,000,000%. And you know what? I'll go one step further. Like, why are you in a situation where your kids are your excuse to holding you back? Why aren't they your motivation for going further and being better and more?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I love the way that you guys have kind of included Scarlett and Sabrina and all the things that you guys do. They're clearly just young, ambitious, well-behaved kids who have a lot of confidence, which is something that is extremely lacking these days, especially in advent of social media. Has done a lot of really great things for the world and a lot of really not great things for the world, especially this younger generation of people. And it seems like you guys have done a great job combating that. I want to ask you specifically around the religious aspect, because again, this is figuring it out. We like to talk about these types of things. How has the church played a role in the kids' learning and their confidence and their clarity when they get up in front of people? How has that or has that affected their ability to communicate and be confident at that young age?
Well, I mean, I can just give you my opinion about it, but I don't want to ever speak for anybody, but I can see, my kids have done a communication course. They understand a communication cycle, which is simply you have an intention to get a thought across. So you'd have to have the intention first, right? And then it would have to go through a distance, right? Because I'm here and you're there. So it has to travel a distance. Then it has to go to receipt point, which is you. You have to comprehend what I'm saying. And then you have to duplicate what I'm saying. So if I say black cat, right? I had to have the intention for you to understand a black cat, communicate it. You have to say, black cat. Did you duplicate black cat?
Yes.
Good. So now I saw and looked that you duplicated black cat, and then you gave me a response back. Something very basic is understanding a communication cycle, which is not taught in schools. Then how to overcome ups and downs in life, how to do the basic study. How do you study? Learning how to learn. Did you learn how to learn? There's an actual tech involved with learning. And one of the barriers to study is going past a misunderstood word. If you go past a misunderstood word, the rest of the page goes blank because you went into non-comprehension, because you didn't duplicate what the author was telling you. You went into blank, and everything from that point on is blank. So now they read their books. When they don't understand a word, they go to the dictionary. Wasn't taught to me in school. So you know what happened to me when I was in school? I thought I was stupid. I thought I was dumb. I was put in the lower reading group. No one told me, look up your words, that there's nothing wrong with you. So, I mean, do I see the benefits? Absolutely I do. My kids, They take little courses, they learn, they train, they study, they can confront people, they can look into somebody's eyes and have a communication cycle. I mean, this isn't taught. I mean, and people look at me and say, your children are they're just so different. And I'm like, well, yeah, they've had training, they've had technology, they take classes, it's an applicable science, it's an applicable religion. It's not a faith-based religion. So it's not a threat to other religions. It's just, I was raised Catholic. I'm still a Catholic. You know, Scientology doesn't tell me don't believe in God. They don't tell me what to believe. They say what's true for you is true for you. Here's some data. This is how you apply it. So the Catholic Church didn't teach me a course on a marriage. I did a marriage course in Scientology. It helped me in my marriage. I did a course, how to rear productive, happy children. You know, like the Catholic Church just didn't offer that to me. So it's made a tremendous difference in my life and in personal values and integrity. They've taken these courses. It's data that the school systems aren't going to teach and religions don't teach because they're not an applied religion. They're faith-based religions.
Yeah. Yeah. Where are you guys? Are you guys homeschool? Is that right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is that something that you plan on doing for like their entire time in school, or okay. Yes. Okay.
They've been homeschooled for 4 years. This is their 4th year because we travel around the world and because I don't want them indoctrinated into the schools. And you know, I have nothing. This isn't a war against teachers, and no matter what, you know, they may think of me. I don't know. I heard if you homeschool now, you're a domestic terrorist. But aside from all that political bumbo jumbo, we've been doing this before all of that went down. And I don't want my children indoctrinated with false information, you know, wrong information. I know for a fact the school system indoctrinated me with wrong information. And the root word of the derivation of information means a formation of the mind. That's what information is doing. That is a formation of the mind. When you get the right information, knowledge is power. When you have the wrong information, what would that mean? That would mean a deformation of the mind. Yeah. Right? Yeah. When you have a deformation of the mind, what are you going to be? Knowledge is power. What are you? Weak, useless, can't get anywhere, think something's wrong with you, can't get out. That's what the school system did for me. They did not accept people like me, visionaries, artists. They want me to stay in my little box and be this academic student, but didn't tell me to look up my words. Didn't tell me that.
Yeah,
you know, when I asked what a word is, they said, hand to God. They said, I would say, what does this word mean? And they would say, whatever you think it means, just fill it in and continue reading. Why do I want my child around that? I want my child to know. They have the right to know. Yep. Give them the right information. Tell them what the word means. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to go to a school system or have my children in a school system, and because they go past a word they don't understand and the teacher doesn't want to tell them what it means, because that's happened to my daughter before, and then my kid doesn't understand the rest of the page and then starts doing this, you know, in the chair because they're bored, because they can't understand what they're reading, so they get bored because they're hyper, because they're energy, and they are full of life. You know, because no one's suppressed them yet. Oh, until the teacher says, guess what? Your child's too hyper in the classroom, and we want to put them on psychiatric, psychotropic drugs that can physically change the makeup of their chemistry. But you know what? We want that because we want them to sit still and be a little zombie, so we don't have to take care of your little hyper children because we don't know what the definition of the word is either. So I'm not putting them in the school system. I'm not. Why would I want to do that? If I'm going to mess up my kids, if my kids are going to be messed up, it's going to be my responsibility. I'm not going to be able to say it was a teacher's fault or it was that person's fault. I'm going to raise my hand and I say, I messed them up. I messed them up and I take responsibility.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the problem with the education system as a whole is that it only teaches one type of student, and all other types of students are labeled as uneducated or dumb or ignorant or or they're bad. Even worse to me is telling a kid that they're a bad kid when they're that age. And then you just start teaching them all the things to tell themselves every day when they wake up and go back to school. And then that starts to form the thought patterns that create the person that they become, all because they learn in a different way than that kid learns, So yeah, I was just curious to ask you about that one, because obviously our kids are getting up to school age and we're trying to decide, what we're supposed to do in that type of situation. So I appreciate you being candid about that. Moving into a little bit of the business side of things, Elena, I know that you guys have a ton of stuff going on all the time. So I'd love to hear what you guys have coming up next and how we can kind of continue to help support you and send our audience over to what you guys got going on.
Okay, well, that's a loaded question. We have stuff going on every weekend. This coming weekend is my 10X Ladies event. I'd love for you to come out. It would be amazing.
Yes. So we're in Vegas. It's in Vegas, right?
No, it's in Miami.
Oh, okay. I thought it was in Vegas.
5th.
Okay.
And then the 6th and 7th is Build an Empire Mastermind. That's a separate workshop that I do, led just by me. So that's coming up. And then I have this EXP thing where I'm building the largest, most successful real estate team in the world. We're acquiring new businesses with Cardone Ventures. We're going to 10X. We want to go for acquiring 9,000 more apartment units this year with Cardone Capital. So it opens up the door for a lot more unaccredited, non-accredited, and accredited investors an opportunity to be a part of that asset. And we have Cardone events all the time and GrowthCon. I mean, there's always something going on because we put our future. We place events in our future that pull us forward, and we want to be around other like-minded individuals that we can be normal and it's okay to be too much, and we don't have to feel like we have to lessen down to make the normal people feel okay. So this is why we put events in the future, and so many of them is because people need a place where they can go and be around other like-minded, accountable, ethical people that will pull them forward, that support them, show active interest in the success of them, that support them. The derivation of support, you see, now you can't stop me from looking up words. The derivation of support, it means from below plus the word to carry. So that's what we are. We are support for you, from below, to carry you to a heightened level of success. Imagine if you had an army of people behind you, carrying you, lifting you up, what your empire would look like.
Love it. Love it. I saw also something about moving to Scottsdale. Is that right?
We opened a headquarters in Scottsdale. It's already open. The 10X headquarters is in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's a beautiful facility. That's where Cardone Ventures headquarters out of.
Okay. Gotcha. But you guys are still in Miami.
Oh yeah. I'm in the studio right now in Miami.
Okay, cool. Just checking.
Oh yeah. But we're bi-coastal now. See?
That's true. I mean, and successfully.
Global, Travis.
What's that?
I said, we're going global. We're
That's
first
right.
We're bi-coastal, and then who knows where we pop up.
Hey, once you get an office in Dublin, let me know and I might move out there for you. So.
Woo, nice. I like Dublin.
All right, Elena, I want to get you out of here. I know you got a bunch of stuff going on. Real quick, there's one quick segment we wanted to run you through. So this is a new show. We're testing a few different segments with the audience and seeing what people like and what they don't like and stuff. So this one is called Truth or Myth. Okay. So I just want you, we're going to just say one word, and then you tell me if you think it's true or if it's a myth, if it exists or if it's a myth.
Deal. Okay.
All right. Destiny.
Myth.
Law of attraction.
True.
Love at first sight.
Myth.
I only have eyes for you.
I want to say truth. No, realistically, myth. You got to create that.
That's facts. Okay. Let's see. Psychics.
True.
Demons.
True. I mean, they're all fake. They're myth. I mean, but you think they're real, so you create them, and thus they're real. But in reality, no.
Okay, great.
In reality, you know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Perfect. Cool. I think that's everything we got. Do you have anything else, babe?
No, I think it covered pretty much everything.
Sweet. Well, if you're listening to this right now, please go check out everything that Elena and Grant have going on. I know that 10X Growth Con is right around the corner. Elena's doing these 10X Ladies events all the time. And I know that you're coming out with a new book as well, right?
No, not a new book. Build an Empire Mastermind, though. I have
the
4
mastermind.
of those going on a year. Build an Empire. And those are their own workbooks, each course.
Got it. Awesome. Perfect. So if you're looking to get a little bit more from Elena and from Grant, please be sure to go follow all the stuff they have going on. You literally cannot miss them if you go online and you're in the business world at all. So go check out some of the stuff they got going on. I just want to say this before we take off, Elena. I've been following you guys since, I want to say 2016, since like the first year that I've ever dove into personal development. I think I was following Gary Vee, and then I saw Grant and Gary do something. And then since then I've been following Grant stuff. And I've heard a lot of people over the years saying some positive things and some negative things about you guys. And every time I've heard somebody say something negative, you guys have always proved them wrong and have always just outworked the belief that other people had in you. And so I just want to acknowledge you and applaud you guys for leading the way and showing people what to do with haters, which is let them say whatever they're going to say, and you just outwork them and show them what's possible.
That's our policy. Flourish and prosper.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much, Lena. Really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me. You guys are awesome.
All right. We'll chat soon.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay. See you.